Yeah, but he also spoke to them about their expectations, what they would like the president to talk about. Let's take a look at a bit of that. You've chosen a very understated, elegant idea. What inspired the outfit?
A little bump, so I didn't want anything too tight around the bum this year.
What are your expectations for the president's speech?
Well, I think the president promises he needs to clear up. He promised this would be the year of the job, and clearly we've actually lost jobs over the last year. So we're hoping that he comes out and talks more about how the state can facilitate critical infrastructure to allow the private sector to create jobs on top of that.
All right, I hope you enjoy the State of the Nation address. There's more beautiful dresses. Ma'am, come a bit closer. Let us see your dress. Let us see this dress. Who made this dress?
Oh, it's a lady.
What inspired it? What inspired this? There's a lot of frills going on. What inspired the dress?
Just like the way it is, you can see.
Are you enjoying it though?
Yes, I'm enjoying it very well, too much.
What do you expect to come out of the State of the Nation address?
The president talk about the corruption and crime, and better education for all.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, ma'am. The chairperson of the Police Portfolio Committee, what inspired the Eastern look? It's got no cop feel at all.
I wanted to look different, multicultural, something I've never worn before, but South African.
Where was it done? Who did it? How did you get it?
I bought it in Devon. I went into the shop that sells saris, and I said to them, I'm attending a formal function. I want to look beautiful and make me beautiful. And they just gave me all this.
Your committee chairs one of the top 5 priority areas on crime. From the police committee's idea, what would you like to see come out of the State of the Nation address?
I think the integration of the whole cluster, so that we don't work in silos. It must be possible for us to know that we've arrested a criminal, and surely the correctional services must be knowing that the criminal is now arrested. We must be knowing when that criminal is going to court, so that the integration, because for now it's really not that integrated. I think that is what I will want to hear, and probably practical steps that will be taken towards ensuring that in terms of IT and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That's Cindy Chikunga, the chairperson of the Police Portfolio Committee. Enjoy your outfit. Well, that's what we've got a bit earlier from the MPs and the guests who've come in here. We saw the Speaker of Parliament, the chairperson of the NCOP, have just walked down to get ready to accept the procession that's going to come up here. But we'll give you a bit more of that after the ad break. We'll go to now quickly.
Hey, I'd like to introduce you to the Tops Dictionary. Because if you really want to party, you've got to learn to speak party. Like that host who promises to open a great bottle of wine but never does. She's what we call a cork tease. And nobody likes a tease. And Mr. Fancy Footwork over here, he's what we call a Mac Jiver. Ooh. So if you want to party, you need to learn to speak party. And what better place to start than at Tops?
We know how difficult it is to lose a loved one. The Department of Home Affairs is here to support you. We will help you get your death certificate free of charge in any of our offices countrywide. Our thoughts and prayers reach out to you in this hour of need.
Clientele Life supports the registration of death initiative, as well as the principle of getting your family's affairs in order.
More friends with the socially enabled BlackBerry Curve 8520. Get it now for only 1,598 Rand once off on prepaid. Includes 500 megabytes free YouTube streaming per month, subject to BIS activation. Available at these stores. Live fun. Live social. ATA.
The future is uncertain, even for the most privileged. But employers who fail to comply with the Unemployment Insurance and Contributions Acts are also failing the people that work for them. Be a caring employer and ensure that your employees are protected in the event of unemployment, maternity leave, illness, or even death.
Aibo, I see you always look at your watch when I get to work, but I look at the calendar. Are you compliant? Have you paid UIF?
Let us help you avoid penalties and interest. Make your declarations and pay your UIF monthly contributions on or before the 7th of every month. To register, declare and make payments, simply call UIF or visit our website. UIF, working for you.
Both the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces to call today's gathering wherein he is expected to talk about what his plans are for us this coming year.
Yeah, indeed. Having a look back at the year that's gone, 2011, that passed, a very difficult year if one must look at it. I know there were promises of a lot of job creations. Unemployment was one of the issues that was going to be addressed. But I suppose with the economy the way it was last year, having a look back at that, this is something that a lot of people are going to want answers for. And looking ahead, how is jobs going to be addressed? One of the very big issues, education, another issue that I think South Africans are wanting to see, craving to get better schools, better infrastructure. One thing that was promised, I know, by the President as well, was delivering textbooks on time. Another issue that needs to be addressed, something that isn't being done. Absolutely. So there's certainly,
Cape as well as Limpopo.
this is it, a lot of issues that are going to be had a look at from the previous year, and what is going to be done to fix it up when we look at the 2012 State of the Nation address. So this evening is a big year, covering political, economical and social matters, international relations, and also consider the general state of South Africa. So basically, if you want to just summarize what the State of the Nation is all about, it is in fact the President reporting back to Parliament and to the public as well.
Well, of course, earlier our reporter Manelisi Dubase did speak to the two presiding officers.
All right, apologies for the breakup in sound. We're just trying to sort out for his mic as the broadcast gets underway. But we're going to be taking a look at an insert now where we chatted to some of the dignitaries that did arrive, and let's have a look at what they had to say.
Well, this is a very, very important theme for us as South Africans. The knowledge economy and development of opportunity is one of the most important things that we should be looking forward for in this country. You would be aware that in terms of creation of jobs in particular, although we have a lot of minerals in South Africa and we deal with a lot of agricultural products, we cannot rely only on those things. There is a need for us to look for the question of education, to look at skills development or acquisition, to look at research. Research is very, very important in our country, and to look at also technology and science. This is important because we are competing with the globe today. In order for us to be infinite, and in order for us to go and compete out there, our children and the new society that we are developing, it's important for them to get involved in knowledge economy and development and get those development opportunities. Therefore, we are preparing a young society that will go out there and say we are ready. You would be aware that South Africa has formed a consortium of also bidding against Australia and to build a telescope that will be in this country around the Karoo area, and the bid is important for us, and we are encouraging the government that it should win.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Parliament will continue doing some of the programs that we started last year, which is going to the community, talking to the people, and bringing people to Parliament. And the reason we're doing it is because we want to make sure that the people's voice is heard loud and clear in Parliament, and the Parliament is then able to, with that information, interact with the executive. Our role as parliamentarians is not only to listen to the people, but act on their requests on their behalf in dealing with delivery, particularly from the executive. We have sent a number of members of parliament in the past to different provinces and different localities to find out what the blockages were. They've come back and reported, and we are continuing to assess the situation. We also, as you would know, bidding with 9 African countries for the square kilometer array, which is the biggest scientific astronomy project in Southern Africa, which will be based in the Northern Cape. We are joined by 9 African countries, including Kenya, Madagascar, Mauritius, Zambia, Namibia. We want to highlight the importance of science and knowledge in science and technology. And this is the biggest astronomy project bringing Southern Africa closer to the hub of the knowledge economy.
Welcome back to this special broadcast, this live broadcast ahead of the State of the Nation address. The ceremonial guard is taking place. It's on your screen right now as you are watching this footage coming to you from Cape Town, coming into Parliament. A lot of the guests have already arrived in Parliament. It's a very windy day over here, so I'm sure many are grateful that they've made their way up the carpet and are already seated. But the visuals that you're seeing right now are live. This is what's happening. It's an event that, of course, is the highlight of a calendar for anybody that is making it from Parliament, the sitting of Parliament. This is the State of the Nation address, hearing going forward what some of the plans are. This, of course, is the 4th session of the 4th Parliament since the dawn of democracy on April 1994. State of the Nation address, of course, commonly known as the opening of Parliament. The address is delivered to a joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. It focuses on the current political and socio-economic state of the nation, and the joint sitting is called by the President, and it's hosted by the presiding officers of the 2 houses. There are always high expectations on a day like this, not only by those that have gathered to listen to what the President has to say inside Parliament, but also by those at home that, as you know, have been urged by the President himself to send their hopes, their dreams, their wishes, things that they would like the President to address in the State of the Nation. And for President Jacob Zuma's address, that'll set the tone for not only this year's parliamentary sitting, but also government's agenda for 2012. Well, if you've just tuned into this broadcast, most of the dignitaries, as I say, have already arrived. They've taken their seat inside the House, and some notable guests that are here. We have noted that former President Thabo Mbeki could not be here today. He's in Sudan, actually. But others that have arrived include the former Deputy President F.W. de Klerk and Evita, as well as former Deputy President Baleka Mbete, former Speaker Frina Janwala, former Chief Justice Pius Langa, and the chair of the Southern African Development Community and Parliamentary Forum and Zimbabwe Speaker Lovemore Moyo, also in attendance at this very special occasion. Other foreign visitors that are here are Angola International Relations Minister Mr. Rabelo Chikoti and Mozambican Foreign Minister O.J. Baloyi, both of them arriving earlier today. So the Military Guard of Honor from the Civic Centre all along Adderley Street and along the red carpet at Parliament. And this is the route the President's motorcade will be following, and that should be happening in around about 20 minutes from now, that they'll be taking to the road and getting there. Now, just to give you a little bit more information, the Civil Guard of Honor comprises of 150 people from all walks of life, and this year it includes the women on farm projects. This is the Manenberg Helping Hand, Ikamva Labantu, and others who will do lots of good work in their respective communities. So just a little bit of background for you on this occasion that we're marking the opening of Parliament here in South Africa. Well, we've got an analyst with us in studio now that can give us a little bit of insight into what is the expectations of President Jacob Zuma on this day. And it's good to have him with us. It's Somadene Fikeni. Good to have you. Welcome to the show. And lots of expectations resting on the President today. What are you expecting today?
I do think that the main emphasis will be on economic issues with particular focus on job creation, poverty alleviation, and that should make the centerpiece of his speech, because the pressures globally, nationally, are around the issue of job creation, poverty alleviation, and besides, in his last State of the Nation address, he had said job creation was the central point. Now a report back to say how far he has gone with the job creation, where billions were pledged towards that particular project.
Yeah. I mean, the people are obviously talking. The people want answers. The people want to know specifically when it comes to job creation. What can some explanations be? I mean, this is going to be a very tough one for the president to address.
I think the most obvious explanation, which of course is running out of currency, will be to say the global economic climate, especially in Europe. But that again does not explain what could have happened to 19 billion which was pledged. Yeah. Maybe he might also say that some of the programs are in place and they will start yielding such jobs. But again, if you look at the last 4 State of the Nation addresses, even before him, the issue of job creation was always the most pressing one.
Well, I mean, can we really expect him to say anything new? I mean, he's already been to Parliament late last year to say, look, given the Eurozone crisis, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to deliver on the promise that we made. So can we then realistically expect him to say anything more or beyond what he has already said?
Not much, except for elaboration, because the policy context is quite complex. The first one, the ANC policy conference is in June, and at the end of the year in Mangaung, that's when some of the policy proposals which might mark a radical shift from what we have will be endorsed. So it's unlikely to preempt that particular process. At the same time, people will be demanding answers. The one obvious answer could possibly be to say that the policies in this particular environment, with the state capacity being what it is, in this environment, again, where you find that the global investment environment is not conducive. Because if you look at some of the billions which were pledged, they were for tax breaks for new investments. And you have not seen that on any massive scales. But what has happened since is that the industrial policy now is in place. What has happened since is that the key partners, the labor, government, private sector, have agreed that buying South African products is going to be one of the centerpieces. He may also speak on the issue of green economy against the backdrop of COP17. So those are some of the nuances that we may expect, but nothing fundamental, and again, nothing in terms of a radical departure from what we've had before.
All right, let's just on screen now, Somodeni Fikani, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll keep you with us in studio through the broadcast, but as you can see, on the carpet right now is the Premier's procession. All the Premiers from the 9 provinces making their way up the red carpet and into Parliament. Let's watch these visuals. Walk up the red carpet. We've now just turned our attention to the Deputy President, Kgalema Motlanthe, who's making his way with his procession and the vehicles in front of him as he gets to the front of the red carpet as well. He'll be walking up shortly. Now, a day like this is one that it's dictated by precision. The timing is of the essence of a moment like this, and I think when they say that the president is going to be speaking at 7, they mean the president is speaking at 7. The deputy president will arrive at this time. The premiers walk up the carpet, but this is what's happening right now on your screen. Kgalema Motlanthe making his way to the front of Parliament, where he will then walk up the red carpet.
Well, the procession at the moment is still in Ardley Street, which of course isn't too far from where we are. It's only a couple of streets from where Leanne and I are sitting and broadcasting from.
Well, as we watch the President's motorcade coming up, the premier issue is one, Somodeli, to bring you back into the conversation here, the issue of failing provinces. You know, this is one can't help it when you look at the premiers walking up the carpet to say, you know, is this something that can be addressed, something that is going to be looked at?
I think national government can intervene, but at a certain point, questions are being raised about the very nature of the provinces. Do we need 9 provinces? Do they need to have the powers that they do? Because even in terms of intervention, that may strain and stretch the very national resources, because some of the national departments, it's not like they do have this surplus of human capital. They themselves are struggling. Now, if you say they intervene, it means you are taking some of the staff members and stretching them to the provinces. The same question can be raised about, you know, the local government sector.
To what extent really are we victims of a situation where an issue is raised, work begins on trying to look at... The reason I'm asking this is a few years ago, when Sidney Mufamadi was still the Minister of
Local
Provincial
Government.
and Local Government, this issue was very much on the agenda, and some work was done on whether do we need these provinces or do we need them perhaps in a different form. And as soon as that administration was gone, the issue died with them. To what extent are we victims of starting things, doing some work on them, and as soon as a new administration comes, then all is forgotten?
Actually, it doesn't even take new administration. Whenever a minister is removed from position, a new minister comes in as if it's a tabula rasa, a clean slate, and they start again. There's a new strategy. That in itself, you could cost it into billions, because it's restarting from the same party with the same focus, and yet shifting policy initiatives, even worse at times. Some of these initiatives are owned and internalized by consultants, not the incumbents within the departments. So there's no sense of ownership, there's no sense of continuity. Of course, we can't say this is common throughout all departments, but even the ruling party itself has identified this as a major problem, let alone that duplication across departments, working in silos, and problems across the different tiers of government, national, provincial, and local. All those combined are leading to a very inefficient system.
Right, let's take a look now at what's happening on the red carpet. And straight after the premiers have walked up, it is now time for the judges' procession. And the judges are walking up the red carpet. This is the procession. The new Justice Chief, Mogoeng, leading the judges for the first time up Parliament Street. So,
well, speaking of which, of course, as we all know, there have been tensions between the executive and the judiciary over a number of issues, Dr. Figin.
Well, I can tell you that the judiciary and the media are two role players which are increasing in their importance, and increasingly tension between those role players and the executive are becoming obvious. And then in that context, the issues of transformation, the issues of who accounts to whom, the issues of separation of power are beginning to come into the center stage of our debate.
Well, I mean, I read a piece that former Chief Justice Arthur Chaskerson wrote the other week, but then subsequently this past week, I read another piece where someone was arguing that actually this is healthy. We should have this conversation. Judges, including past and present, shouldn't actually be personal about these things. It's normal. It's perfectly normal as a democracy. We should have this conversation.
It is normal, especially in your established democracies, to a point where each time a president is appointed in the US, and you have to appoint people into the highest court, you know that the ideological leaning of that particular judge is going to be similar to that one of the president. And there is always that constant debate about the composition of that sector.
Well, there you go on your screen right now. You're seeing the arrival of the Deputy President of South Africa, Kgalema Motlanthe, arriving. He's meeting everybody as he does come out. And, of course, he will make his way up the red carpet. And talk of being pushed as the next president of South Africa. Care to comment on this one?
This is going to be a very interesting and intriguing year because, again, his name keeps coming, but at the same time you can see that he's not as comfortable with the fact that his name is being pushed as one of the candidates to contest the current president in December. And he has not spoken openly, he has not denied that, he has not declined those who are raising his name, but he has remained relatively quiet, going around doing his job.
Right now, the entrance that the Deputy President has come past is a Slave Lodge. It's just outside the entrance to the parliamentary precinct. It's, as you can see, coming up the carpet. It's a combination of public participation and a formal state ceremony as well that's happening.
Of course, with the Deputy President as a spouse, as well as the two deputies of both houses of Parliament, both the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly. As protocol dictates, they are the ones who accompany the Deputy President as he walks towards the parliamentary, towards the National Assembly building.
If you just tuned in, this is the SABC special broadcast of this, the 2012 State of the Nation address. The Deputy President of South Africa walking up the red carpet, accompanied by his wife. In just a few moments, we have word that President Jacob Zuma will be leaving, and he will be making his way down Adderley Street, and we certainly will have our cameras there to capture that moment. But right now, this is the moment of the Deputy President to enjoy and bask in the glory of walking up that red carpet and being welcomed by everybody who is standing there to see this procession.
What happened to our aircon?
Stand by.
Right, there you go. This is now the moment for the president. These are visuals coming live out of Adderley Street. And President Jacob Zuma, led by mounted police and escorted by the military on motorbikes, is making his way down into Parliament now. Just some interesting things to note. A number of people have been invited to attend the State of the Nation address, including some of family members of all previous leaders of the liberation movements. And for those of you interested in knowing, the theme of this year's Parliament is the knowledge economy and development opportunities. So watch out for the announcements on the field of science and technology. Something interesting that we're told is going to come out of this, and developments as far as that one is concerned. So there you have it. The president, you can see through the glass now, is making his way up Adderley Street. Now, once he does arrive, the reception committee that'll be at Slave Lodge are both of the presiding officers, and they'll accompany him all the way on the red carpet through the street alignment to the steps of the National Assembly. As far as we know, President Zuma's wife, Ms. Sizekele, is accompanying him, but we will, of course, get... We'll have a look as soon as they exit the vehicle. His other wives, Nompumelelo and Thuli Zuma, and Ms. Tobeka Madiba arrived a little bit earlier. And receiving him at the gate are presiding officers, Mbongi and Mr. Lechesa Kumaka, who we will be seeing in a short while as well.
Well, if you just joined us, you're watching a live broadcast of the fourth session of the fourth Parliament of the Republic of South Africa.
This is a big moment for the President, Somagadi. I mean, we've seen him really trying to embrace South Africans this year, taking to all forms of social media, email, Facebook, Twitter, any possible way of getting hold of him to give him some of the feedback on the ground as to what people are looking for. How seriously is this taken?
Well, I think this is a revolution started mainly by President Barack Obama, who used social media so effectively. And also the fact that across the areas where you have had protests, the social media has been one of the major tools. Having had challenges with the presidential hotline in terms of handling the volume, I think this is being used as a supplement to the presidential hotline, but also is to signal a message that our president is also up to, stage in terms of technology and utilization of that technology for communication. But again, this segment, if you look at the digital divide, only touches a certain segment of our society and doesn't reach those in the villages, those in the informal settlements. And that in itself, I think the Department of Education, Science and Technology and others have started to address, even though on a smaller scale.
Also, I mean, one would have thought also that if the president picked up on some of the things that people raise, whether it's through the hotline or through Facebook or Twitter, one would have thought that the media department of the presidency would make a lot of noise about that, but you hardly hear anything like that, like someone saying, well, the president picked up this problem from the hotline or from the end, this is how we're dealing with it.
I think the office of the presidency and generally government is still trying to refine some of its actions in terms of handling communication, because the issue of the hotline, again, as you correctly say, had its own problems or even saturation. As a country now, we ought to have reached a stage 2-3 years after these platforms were established, where we were given analysis, how many are speaking to unemployment, how many are speaking to issues of not receiving proper government services, how many have been served, and what is the turnaround period. All those ought to be, the kinds of conversations that we have with the public feedback coming from the presidency. Again, I hope those who are responsible are listening very carefully to some of these very positive suggestions.
Well, in case you're wondering where things are at the moment, you're seeing there on your screens the vehicle carrying President Jacob Zuma, who is making his way towards Parliament at the moment. You are, of course, watching live pictures of this broadcast brought to you by SABC News.
Vehicle coming to a standstill, and as you can see, he has now arrived in front of Slave Lodge, and this is now he's about to exit the vehicle and make his way up the red carpet, and of course being welcomed by all that are lining the carpet for him to welcome him to this special occasion. As I mentioned earlier, receiving him at the gates are presiding officers and the Mbongi, Mr. Lechesa Kamoka, and he will be walking with him up the carpet as well. There's also a second Mbongi this year, Mr. William Skosana, who is waiting for the president to read the entrance to the National Assembly as well. On your screen now, Max Sisulu as well on the red carpet accompanying the president all the way up to the top. Right, and as mentioned earlier, President Jacob Zuma's wife, Mrs. Caesar Kele, is accompanying him up this red carpet as well.
Close-ups of the president as he walks towards the National Assembly chamber. With him is his wife, Makumalo, and of course the two presiding officers of the National Assembly and the NCOP, Mr. Mnino Mahlangu, the chairperson of the NCOP, as well as Mr. Max Sisulu, who is the Speaker of the National Assembly. And behind them, of course, is Mr. Zingile Dingane, who is the Secretary of Parliament.
Waving, looking very relaxed as he wakes his way inside, but one can only imagine what's really going through his mind at a time like this. I mean, this is a nerve-wracking experience. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, but you know, you've got eyes on you, you've got hopes of people and dreams upon your shoulders as you make your way up this red carpet. I mean, this is a stressful moment for any president who's about to address the nation.
It certainly is. In fact, it is worse now because the previous two presidents, Mandela presided at the time, the season of hope. Mbeki presided at the time when you had this sustained economic growth. But right now, the current president is faced with diminishing resources and increasing expectations, especially around the issue of economy, job creation, employment and wealth ownership, and increasing inequalities. Globally, he can say, I expect floods of investors coming in. Locally, he can't say that the economy will suddenly turn out and have surplus. Here we're dealing with deficit, but they have to do more with less resources. That is what might be putting even more stress. 100 years of ANC's anniversary is also raising questions. Almost 18 years into our democracy, what can masses say fundamentally we've gained? A lot has been done, electrification and so forth, but the structural and fundamental issues are coming up quite sharply.
Just to talk you through what'll happen in the next couple of minutes as well. The naval band will be performing and is performing now, but they will then do the national anthem. You'll also see a 21 gun salute that'll be performed by naval gunners. And then, of course, that moment when a flypast by Astra aircraft from the Longabaan Air Force Base will be taking part. So anybody in and around this precinct in Cape Town is enjoying such spectacular sights in the sky, and I'm sure no matter where you are, you'll be able to see this incredible event taking place. Now, after that is finished, which you will see live coming to you right here on SABC2, the President will proceed to the foyer of the official procession into the National Chamber, where he will address a joint session of both houses of Parliament. That will be taking place in around about 9 minutes from now. So, Madali, let's talk a little bit about opposition. We saw Helen Zille earlier, a little bit coming in, arriving, the leader of the DA, of course. The relationship between government and the opposition, you know, how is he listening to them?
I think there is an effort to reach out in terms of the warmth between leaders, but at the level of tension, one would say that there are tensions very much over the policy issues, over different perspectives, and that in itself, I think, is what strains what rapport has been built. You've seen Helen Zille testifying that when she goes to the Lekgotla, Cabinet Lekgotla, there's nothing that makes her feel like an outsider in that space. But again, there are sharp differences when it comes to policies.
Certainly, once the State of the Nation is over, the reaction will come in fast and furiously. And as soon as the opposition parties do walk out, we will get the reaction and the responses, and you will get that live here on SABC2. You can see now the Deputy President waiting on the steps and he'll be joined by the President shortly. And as you can see, the Deputy President accompanied by Gugu Mchali, his partner on this occasion, Makhumalo, the wife of President Jacob Zuma, Max Sisulu also walking in. And the ceremony and the speech is about to take place in just a few minutes from now. Exactly 7 o'clock, the President will take to the podium.
Well, we just heard and saw, of course, the tradition that goes way back to the 14th century, when cannon and firearms came into use. Originally, they say warships fired 7 gun salutes, 7 probably chosen because of the numbers, astronomical and biblical significance.
I'd be interested to know that in 1842, actually, the 21 gun salute became the international norm for the highest honor of a nation rendered, and it is fired in honor of the head of state, the national flag, a visit from the head of state to a foreign nation, and a member of the reigning royal family, as well as a former head of state. So something that's practiced all around the world. Now stay tuned to SABC2 as we'll continue to bring this to you live, and you will be able to watch a State of the Nation address in the next 2 minutes or so as the President takes to the podium. But once it has finished, we'll have all the political analysis here, as well as the reaction from those that are walking out from the opposition parties and those that have gathered inside, whether they were satisfied with what they heard, and just plotting the way forward. We will get all of that. We've got reporters positioned all over the red carpet that will be waiting to chat to those that are walking out.
And it is a joint session of both houses of parliament, the National Assembly as well as the National Council.
lagijima enyaweni zamadiyo ngokulwela ibandlululo ikutani yekhethu yathwasela ijele kanti ezinye inkutani zithwasela emayunivesithi nani masewula afrika kwakwazelani nigide nithabe ngoba lithwasile ihlobo sazi ukuthi ngubani ongasayi ukudla isiguga ikutani yekhethu eyathumba amakhetho ikutani yekhethu ngumsholozi siyathokoza msholozi siyathokoza ngedle ihlekisa siyathokoza msholozi siyathokoza.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, the President has called this joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces in terms of Section 84(2)(d) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, read with Joint Rule 71A, to enable him to deliver his State of the Nation address to Parliament. I now invite the Honorable the President to address the joint sitting. The Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Deputy President of the Republic, Honorable Kgalema Motlanthe, former President F.W. de Klerk, former Deputy President Baleka Mbete, Honorable Chief Justice of the Republic, and all esteemed members of the judiciary. Honorable Chairperson of SADC Parliamentary Forum and Speaker of the Parliament of Zimbabwe, Mr. Lovemore Moyo, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Minister of International Relations of the Republic of Angola, Mr. Rebelio Chikoti, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Mozambique, Mr. Julio Baloy, distinguished premiers and speakers of the provinces, chairperson of SALGA, and all local government leadership. Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, the heads of Chapter 9 institutions, the Governor of the Reserve Bank, leaders of all sectors, from business, sports, traders, members of the diplomatic corps, special and distinguished guests, fellow South Africans, Dumelang, good evening, Hoinand, Molweni, Thobela, Abushe. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, I would like to extend warm greetings to all on this important day. It is an honor to speak to South Africans in this House and in their homes and viewing centers around the country. I also extend a warm welcome to ambassadors and high commissioners representing 146 countries with which South Africa has diplomatic relations. We value your presence in our country. Compatriots and friends, this State of the Nation address takes place during a significant year in the history of our country, the centenary of the ruling party, the African National Congress. In marking this occasion, we are recognizing the work of all South Africans in bringing about a truly free, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous country. We wish to single out the former presidents of the ANC who led our struggle for liberation and of creating a better life across generations. We salute John Langalibalele Dube, Sifaku Makhatu, Zach Mahabane, Josiah Gumede, Pixley Isaac Seme, A.B. Nzuma, J.S. Moroka, Chief Albert Lutuli, Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, and Thabo Mbeki. We welcome the families of the former ANC presidents who are our special guests this evening. We also recognize other components of the liberation movement. The Black Consciousness Movement, which was led by Mr. Steve Biko, whose son, Samora Biko, is also our special guest tonight. And the Pan-Africanist Congress, which was led by Mr. Robert Sobukwe. We acknowledge, too, the contribution of the late former MP, Ms. Helen Suzman, who was a lone voice in this very House, speaking out against oppressive laws. Honorable members, compatriots and friends, the year 2012 is also special because it marks the 16th anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic, which gives full expression to our democratic ideals. The Constitution is South Africa's fundamental vision statement, which guides our policies and actions. We reaffirm our commitment to advance the ideals of our country's constitution at all times. Compatriots and friends, at the January Cabinet Lekgotla, we decided to undertake a mid-term review looking at progress from 2009 till now instead of the usual annual review. The mid-term review indicated steady progress in various areas such as health, education, the fight against crime, human settlements, energy, water provision, rural development, and others. However, the triple challenge of unemployment, poverty, and inequality persists, despite the progress made. Africans, women, and the youth continue to suffer most from this challenge. Somlomo nosihlalo abahloniphekileyo njengekhabhinethi kazwelonke sithathe isinqumo sokuthi kufanele senze ngokwedlulele ukukhulisa umnotho wezwe ukuze siqede lezi inkinga kuswelakala kwemisebenzi, ubumpofu kanye nokungalingani ezweni. Ilezonto zontathu esibhekana nazo ngqo kulonyaka nasemnyakeni eminingi ezayo. Compatriots, when freedom was attained in 1994, South Africa inherited a problem of structural unemployment which goes back to the 70s. Employment continued to deteriorate in the 1990s and the early 2000s due to slow growth and declining employment in gold mining and agriculture. Although jobs grew rapidly during the boom of 2003 to 2008, unemployment did not fall below 20%. Employment received another setback in the recession of 2008. Fortunately, government entered the 2008-2009 recession with healthy economic finances and a comparatively low level of debt. This allowed for a flexible response to deteriorating economic conditions. For an example, we increased spending on social security and on infrastructure development to stimulate the economy, mainly through the 2010 FIFA Soccer World Cup Build program. Informed by some of these difficulties and the need to move away from piecemeal planning, we took a decision in 2009 to establish the National Planning Commission and asked them to produce a national development plan for the country informed by the Constitution of the Republic. The Commission released the first draft of the National Development Plan for consideration, which looks at where we want to be in 20 years' time. The plan also directly addresses the elimination of poverty and inequality as critical points that must be attended to. The solution for the country, therefore, is higher growth and job creation to reduce and ultimately eradicate poverty and inequality. As a developmental state that is located at the center of a mixed economy, we see our role as being to lead and guide the economy and to intervene in the interests of the poor, given the history of our country. Informed by this responsibility, in 2010, we launched the new growth path framework and identified our job drivers as infrastructure development, tourism, agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and the green economy. We declared 2011 the year of job creation and mobilized our social partners, namely business, labor, and the community sector, to work with us in implementing the new growth path. The results are encouraging. Although we are not out of the woods yet, given the global economic situation. Fourth quarter figures released on Tuesday indicate that the rate of unemployment has come down from 25% to 23.9% as a result of new jobs. During 2011, a total of 365,000 people were employed. This is the country's best performance since the recession of 2008. What is also important is that all the new jobs are the formal sector of the economy, in sectors such as mining, transport, community services, and trade, to name a few. There are two main things that we did right in 2011, which are contributing to this joint success. Firstly, we mainstreamed job creation in every government entity, including state-owned enterprises. Secondly, we strengthened social dialogue and cooperation between government, business, and the community sector. The accord signed by government, business, and labor on procurement, skills development, basic education, and the green economy confirm our common purpose and determination to build this country. Government alone cannot solve the challenges faced by the country, but working together, solutions are always possible. Compatriots, let me take this opportunity to report back on the undertakings made in the State of the Nation address last year. The Job Fund, which we announced last year, began operating in June. Over 2,500 applications were received in the first round. Project allocations of over 1 billion rand have been committed. We had also announced 20 billion rand worth of incentives under Section 12(1) of the Income Tax Act, designed to support new industrial projects and manufacturing, and even projects with an investment value of 8.4 billion rand were approved. The procurement regulations empowering the Department of Trade and Industry to designate specific industries where local content is prescribed came into effect in December. The sectors include clothing, textile, canned vegetables, leather, and footwear. Progress has also been made in amalgamating small business institutions, and a new entity will be launched this year. We had announced 10 billion rand to be set aside by the IDC for job creation. To date, about 1.5 billion rand was approved for 60 companies to promote job creation. Compatriots and friends, the mining industry, one of the job drivers in the new growth path, plays a critical role in the socio-economic development of the country. As part of addressing the triple challenge of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, government has developed a beneficiation strategy which seeks to provide opportunities in the downstream part of the mineral sectors. We remain committed to the creation of a favorable and globally competitive mining sector, and to promote the industry to attract investment and achieve both industrial growth and much needed transformation. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, honorable members, the work done last year indicates that if we continue to grow reasonably well, we will begin to write a new story about South Africa, the story of how, working together, we drove back unemployment and reduced economic inequality and poverty. It is beginning to look possible. We must not lose this momentum. For the year 2012 and beyond, we invite the nation to join government in a massive infrastructure development drive. Baba Somlomo noSihlalo we-NCOP sizoqala umkhankaso omkhulu okwakha izingqalasizinda ezweni lonke. Lokhu kuzophakamisa izinga lomnotho futhi kuveze amathuba emisebenzi. Compatriots will use the project management expertise gained during the 2010 FIFA Soccer World Cup to make this project succeed. The infrastructure plan will be driven and overseen by the Presidential Infrastructure Coordination Commission, the PICC, which was established in September, bringing together ministers, premiers, and metro mayors under the leadership of the President and the Deputy President. The PICC has identified and developed projects and infrastructure initiatives from state-owned enterprises as well as national, provincial, and local government departments. These have been clustered, sequenced, and prioritized into pipeline of strategic integrated projects. We have chosen 5 major geographically focused programs, as well as projects focusing on health and basic education infrastructure, information and communication technologies, and regional integration. The projects are as follows. Firstly, we plan to develop and integrate rail, road, and water infrastructure centered around 2 main areas in Limpopo. The Waterberg in the western part of the province and Steerpoort in the eastern part. These efforts are intended to unlock the enormous mineral belt of coal, platinum, palladium, chrome, and other minerals in order to facilitate increased mining as well as step up beneficiation of minerals. Using the developments in Limpopo as a base, we will expand rail transport in Mpumalanga, connecting coal fields to power stations. This will enable us to decisively shift from road to rail in the transportation of coal, which has caused a deterioration of the roads in Mpumalanga. The eastern part of the Northwest province will also benefit from the greater focus on infrastructure connected to mining and mineral beneficiation. Secondly, we'll improve the movement of goods and economic integration through a Durban Free State Gauteng logistics and industrial corridor. This project is intended to connect the major economic centers of Gauteng and Durban, as well as Pinetown, and at the same time connect these centers with improved export capacity through our seaports. In this regard, I'm pleased to announce the market demand strategy of Transnet, which entails an investment over the next 7 years of 300 billion rand in capital projects. Of this amount, 200 billion rand is allocated to rail projects and the majority of the balance to projects in the ports. Amongst the list of planned projects is the expansion of the iron ore export channel from 60 million tons per annum to million tons per annum. From 60 million tons per annum to 82 million tons per annum. It also includes various improvements to Durban-Gauteng rail corridor and the phased development of a new 16 million tons per annum manganese export channel through the port of Ngukga in Nelson Mandela Bay. The market demand strategy will result in the creation of more jobs in the South African economy, as well as increased localization and black economic empowerment. It will also position South Africa as a regional transshipment hub for sub-Saharan Africa and deliver on NEPAD's regional integration agenda. We have also been looking at the necessity of reducing port charges as part of reducing the cost of doing business. The issue of high port charges was one of those raised sharply by the automotive sector in Port Elizabeth and Utenek during my performance monitoring visit in the sector last year. In this regard, I'm pleased to announce that the port regulator and Transnet have agreed to an arrangement which will result in exporters of manufactured goods receiving a significant decrease in port charges during the coming year, equal to about 1 billion rand in total. Thirdly, we will develop a major new Southeast node that will improve the industrial and agricultural development and exports capacity of the Eastern Cape region and expand the province's economic and logistics linkages with the Northern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. In the former Transkei, part of the Eastern Cape, we are committed to building a dam using the Umzimvubu River as a source in order to expand. Lastly, our infrastructure work extends beyond our borders. South Africa champions the North-South Road and Rail Corridor, which is part of the African Union's NEPAD Presidential Infrastructure Championing Initiative. Work in this regard comprises various interrelated projects that cover road and railways, border crossings, energy and information and communication technologies. Compatriots, the massive investment in infrastructure must leave more than just power stations, rail lines, dams and roads. It must industrialize the country, generate skills, and boost much needed job creation. I will convene a presidential infrastructure summit to discuss the implementation of the plan with potential investors and social partners. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, I would now like to discuss matters relating to the extension of basic services, addressing inequalities, peace and security, and social cohesion. I received a lot of valuable correspondence in the run-up to the State of the Nation address. Such interaction enables us to keep in touch with our people and their needs. I received an email relating to a housing problem from Mzugisi Mali, a public servant from the Fingo area in Grahamstown. He wrote, and I quote, "In 1994, my income was too high to get an RDP and too low to get a bond. This continued until today. To date, I have 3 children and my wife is not working. When I apply for an LDP, I am told that I do not qualify and cannot get a bond because I am risky to the banks," unquote. That is the problem that faces people at a particular category in this country. It's a reality. Fortunately, we have gone somewhere to address the problem facing Mr. Mali and many others. In 2010, we announced a 1 billion rand guarantee fund to promote access to loans. We are pleased to report that this fund will start its operations in April. Managed by the National Housing Finance Corporation, the scheme will enable the banks to lend to people who are in a similar situation as Mr. Mali. In addition, from April, people earning between 3,500 Rand and 15,000 Rand will be able to obtain a subsidy of up to 83,000 Rand from provinces to enable them to obtain housing finance from an accredited bank. Ungalilahli ithemba, Mr. Mali. Nabaningi abanye kuzolunga ngenxa yalomxhaso ozotholakala kuhulumeni. Kohulumeni bezifundazwe kanye nemshwalense omusha ozokwenza kube lula kumabhange ukuthi aniboleke imali. Siyasebenza, asimanga. Nesingakafiki kuye siyeza. Compatriots, there is an ongoing concern from business and communities about high electricity costs. I've asked ESCOM to seek options on how the price increase requirement may be reduced over the next few years in support of economic growth and job creation, and give me proposals for consideration. We need an electricity price path which will ensure that ESCOM and the industry remain financially viable and sustainable, but which remains affordable, especially for the poor. However, to achieve sustainability, a pact will be required with all South Africans, including business, labor, municipalities, communities, and all customers and suppliers. We must save electricity. For the next 2 years, until the Mudupi and Kusile power stations come into operation, the electricity system will be very tight. We should all play our part in order to avoid load shedding. To increase energy capacity, we will continue searching for renewable energy sources, especially solar electricity and biofuels, as we implement the Green Economy Accord with economic stakeholders. To date, we have installed more than 220,000 solar geysers nationwide. The government target is 1 million solar geysers by 2014 to 2015. Honorable members, compatriots, government continues to extend access to basic water supply. However, clearly, water access is still a challenge in some areas. An email from Mcheko Pine from Hammanskraal is a case in point. The writer says, and I quote, "There is the area called Ngobi near Hammanskraal under Moretele local community. The people residing in the area are now old-aged and mostly sick. The area has been without water for the past 2 years. People rely on rain to harvest water. There are water pipes and machines installed, but the problem is said to be pressure to pump water. Could your office kindly assist with the powers that be?" Unquote. I've asked the Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs to investigate this matter with a view to finding an urgent solution. Water expansion has been delayed in some parts of the country due to a lack of infrastructure. This is being attended to. For an example, 5 new water augmentation schemes are on schedule. These are Oliphant River Water Resource in Steerpoort in Limpopo Province, the Fal River Eastern Subsystem in Secunda in Mpumalanga, Komati Water Augmentation Scheme in Kangala in Mpumalanga, the raising of Hazelmere Dam in KwaZulu-Natal and the Clan William Dam in Clan William in the Western Cape. In addition, 9 out of 25 dams have been rehabilitated. In relation to the announcements we made during the United Nations COP17 Climate Change Conference, an amount of 248 million rand is to be invested over the next 2 years to deal with the issue of acid mine drainage in Witwatersrand. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Interministerial Committee on COP17 for making the conference a huge success. The final outcome of COP17 was historic and precedent-setting, ranking with the 1997 conference where the Kyoto Protocol was adopted. Building on the success of COP17, South Africa will participate in the Rio +20 summit in Brazil, which marks the 10th anniversary of the World Summit on Sustainable Development. Honorable Speaker and Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, our intensive focus on education is paying off. We are pleased that the matric percentage pass is on an upward trend. We congratulate the teachers, learners, parents, and the communities for the efforts. We will continue to invest in producing more teachers who can teach mathematics, science, and African languages. Compatriots, our call to teachers to be in school, in class, on time, teaching for at least 7 hours a day remains pivotal to success. We thank the teacher unions for supporting this campaign. A major achievement is the doubling of grade R enrollment from 300,000 in 2003 to 705,000 in 2011. We appear poised to meet our target of 100% coverage for grade R by 2014. To fight poverty and inequality and to keep learners in school, over 8 million learners attend no-fee schools, while over 8 million benefit from government's school feeding scheme. Last year, national government instituted a Section 101B intervention in the Eastern Cape to assist the Department of Education to improve the delivery of education. Problems included non-delivery of textbooks, non-payment of scholar transport, excess teachers, and a general poor culture of learning and teaching. The implementation of the intervention will continue, and we are working well with the province in this regard. Sizimisele ukwenza imeko yemfundo ibe ngcono eMpuma Koloni. We call on all stakeholders to work with us to make this turnaround a success. And I must indicate we have in fact reached very positive agreements on this between national and the province, and there are no longer any hitches. Compatriots, during the 2010 FIFA Soccer World Cup, we resolved that the South African legacy would be to promote universal access to education. School attendance in the country is now close to 100% for the compulsory band 7 to 15 years of age, but we remain concerned by the report of the General Household Survey in 2010 that just over 120,000 children in that band are out of school. Grade 10 dropouts appear to be a problem, particularly in the rural and farm areas of the Western Cape. The national government will work closely with the Western Cape government to trace these learners and provide support so that they do not lose their future. With regard to higher education, we are exceeding targets. Close to 14,000 learners were placed in workplace learning opportunities over the past year, and over 11,000 artisans have completed their trade tests. Siyajabula ukubona ukuthi lianda inani lentsha efunda amakhono kulama college abizwa ngokuthi phecelezi ngama further education and training colleges. Siyaninxusa abazali ukuthi niqhuquzele izingane zifunde kulama college. Akufanele zicabange ukuthi imisebenzi ifundelwa emanyuvesi kuphela. Siyawadinga amakhono atholakala kulama college. To expand access to tertiary education, as per our announcement last year, 200 million rand was utilized to assist 25,000 students to pay off their debts to institutions of higher learning. Compatriots and friends, we congratulate the health sector as well as the South African National AIDS Council, led by the Deputy President of the Republic, on the success of the HIV and AIDS program. While we are doing well with regards to treatment and the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, general prevention efforts must also be accelerated. We also wish to encourage South Africans to live healthier lives. Because he must talk to them a little bit more. He's very passionate about living healthier lives as citizens of this country, to reduce the impact of known communicable diseases such as diabetes, heart diseases, and hypertension. minister emphasizes that we need to do exercises is one of the 4 key things to keep you healthy. Ungaziyeki nje ulokhu wanda. Compatriots and friends, the year 2013 will mark the centenary of the Natives Land Act of 1913, which took away 87% of the land from the African people. The Constitution requires that the state must realize the restitution of land rights for those who were dispossessed by the 1913 law. We have only distributed 8% of the 30% target of land distribution for 2014 that we set ourselves. The process is slow and tedious, and there is general agreement that the willing buyer, willing seller option has not been the best way to address this question. That is why we have introduced a new policy framework, the Green Paper on Land Reform. We urge the public to participate in the process of improving land redistribution and reform to reverse the impact of the 1913 Act. Honorable Speaker and Honorable Chairperson, compatriots, on economic transformation, we are amending the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act. The amendment, amongst other things, established a statutory commission that would deal with non-compliance and circumvention. The proposed law will also criminalize fronting. And the other forms of empowerment misrepresentations. With regards to issues of disability, we have directed all government departments to ensure that we meet the target we set several years ago of having 2% of people deployed in the public service to be disabled persons. We are also working towards a women empowerment and gender equity bill to promote compliance in both government and the private sector, and to provide for sanctions in the case of non-compliance. Meanwhile, the NATLAC process on the typical forms of employment and labor broking has now been completed. Government seeks to eliminate all forms of abusive practices inherent in labor broking in order to strengthen the protection of vulnerable workers. We trust that common ground will be found this year on this matter. Compatriots, in 2009 we made a commitment to accelerate the fight against crime and corruption. The crime statistics for the period 2010 to 2011 indicate that our country witnessed a decline of 5% in the number of reported serious crimes compared to the previous year. We will, however, not become complacent. We are continuing to implement our programs of making South Africans feel free and to be safe. We also continue to improve the performance of the state in various ways, including the fight against corruption. The multi-agency working group on procurement led by the National Treasury, SARS, and the Financial Intelligence Center is reviewing the entire state procurement system to ensure better value for money from state spending. Initiatives including the vetting of supply chain personnel in government departments. To further improve security, the Department of Home Affairs signed a memorandum of understanding with the banking industry to roll out the online fingerprint verification system in all participating banks to assist in fraud prevention and detection. Compatriots and friends, we are working with various provinces to improve governance systems and administration. These include Gauteng to improve health service delivery, the Free State on transport and roads, and Limpopo to improve governance and financial administration in 5 departments, including the provincial treasury. We welcome the launch of Corruption Watch by COSATU, as well as the recent agreement between government and business to implement anti-corruption programs. These interventions will complement the work of government in combating corruption. Compatriots and friends, as part of promoting social cohesion, as part of promoting social cohesion, this year we'll undertake and continue many heritage projects. Museums and centers to be unveiled will include the 1980 Matola Raid Museum in Maputo, the Ngome Museum in KwaZulu-Natal, Phase 2 of the Freedom Park Museum, and the Steve Biko Heritage Center in Ginsburg in King Williamstown. We have also prioritized the homes and graves of former ANC presidents and other national heroes, including Thomas Mapikela, Lillian Ngoyi, Walter and Albertina Sisulu, Griffiths and Victoria Mxenge, Robert Sobugwe, and others. Memorial sites to be prioritized include that of the Pondo Revolt, the sites of the Frontier Wars, the 1913 revolt by African women in the Free State, the 1957 anti-pass revolt by women in Zerast, the Rocklands Civic Center in Mitchell's Plain, where the United Democratic Front was formed, and the Kukuletu 7 monument in Cape Town. We are also in the process of purchasing and rehabilitating the Winnie Mandela House in Brantford. The Dr. Moroka House in Tabanchu, and the Bram Feature House in Weston. Additional projects include the launch of the Dube Trade Port and the unveiling of the status of John Dube at King Shaka International Airport next month, and renaming the King's House presidential residence in Durban after Dr. Dube. The presidential guest house in Pretoria will be named after Mr. Sifago Makhatu. And the diplomatic guest house in Pretoria after the late prolific diplomat, Mr. Johnny Makatini. Government will also table National Traditional Affairs Bill, which makes provision for the recognition of the Khoisan communities, their leadership and structures. It is important to remember that the Khoisan people were the most brutalized by colonialists who tried to make them extinct and undermined their language and identity. As a free and democratic South Africa today, we cannot ignore to correct the past. I discussed this matter extensively with the Khoisan community when I met with them in Cape Town last year, and we agreed to work together to redress the injustices of the past. Compatriots, next year, 2013, the seat of government, the majestic Union Buildings, will mark 100 years of existence, and planning will start this year to mark the centenary. Fellow South Africans, we must perform better in sports this year. Our star performer, Oscar Pistorius, has set the standard for the year by winning the 2012 Laureus Sportsperson of the Year with Disability Award. Congratulations for this achievement. We also congratulate the national women's soccer team, Banyana Banyana, for qualifying for the London Olympics for the first time. With our support, they will do well. We have been given the honor to host the Africa Cup of Nations next year. replacing Libya as they are unable to do so. Certainly, as you know, Bafana Bafana have our gods on them. They don't move there qualifying, but they always play. We certainly hope that this time around they will go up to the final. We must give them big support. Compatriots, allow me to use this opportunity to extend heartiest congratulations and good wishes to Mama Rebecca Kotane, wife of former ANC Treasurer and General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, Moses Kotane, who will turn 100 years old on Saturday, the 12th of February. Another centenary is the Young Men's Guild of the Methodist Church of Southern Africa. Amadodana asewesi. Another centenary is that of Omama Besililo of the United Congregational Church of South Africa. Sonto lika Dubelelo no Pix lika Seme no Tuli no Mahaban khona nomunye na usonta khona. We wish them all success in their celebrations. Compatriots, we have outlined a busy infrastructure implementation program for now until 2014 and beyond. I would like to appeal to all our people to join hands, as they always do, as we deal decisively with the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Nobody will do this for us. It is in our hands, and we are all equal to the task. As we get back to work tomorrow, let us internalize the words of ANC Women's League founding president Charlotte Maxeke, who said in her presidential address to the National Council of African Women, and I quote, "This work is not for yourselves. Kill that spirit of self and do not live above your people, but live with them. If you can rise, bring someone with you," unquote. And I thank you.
Well, that's
thank the
how
Honorable
we come to the end
President.
of this evening's and this year's State of the Nation
Siyabonga,
address.
Mongameli.
President Jacob Zuma, they're telling the nation what it is that he and his government are planning to do in 2012.
Can we have order in the House?
Also giving us some feedback of the year of 2011, looking forward. What one can certainly gather from this address is that infrastructure is taking the spotlight in this one. But I think it's time now to get some reaction from this year's State of the Nation address. As we mentioned, we've got two of our reporters, Monalisa Dubase and Lukanya is also Calcutta, is on the carpet outside. We'll be crossing to them shortly to find out what the reaction is from some of the opposition members, as well as some of the ministers that are gathering out there. But right now, let's get some political commentary. And Professor Amanda Gous, analyst at the University of Stellenbosch, is in the studio with us. Good to have you. What did you think?
Well, I think that, you know, in a year that the president is looking forward to being re-elected at the Mangaung conference, this was a really uninspiring State of the Nation address. It was very pedestrian. It dealt with issues of infrastructural development, but not that nice, bold vision of where we are going as a nation.
Well, it's interesting you saying that. I mean, I've spent the past 3-4 days at the mining in Indaba, and the points that the president was talking about: infrastructure, electricity, water. That's what business is asking for. That's exactly what business is asking for. So for me, if I take into account what the foreign business people who were at the Indaba were saying, he's actually spot on, certainly in that part of this speech.
Well, we need to also relate it back to the new growth path, in which infrastructural development is very important. But we also know that there are ideological issues around, for example, mining, the whole issue of the nationalization of mines. So there were people who wanted to hear what is the government's policy, and that's once more not been taken on board. Now, I know that infrastructural development in relation to mining, also the vision that's connected to that. How is this going to be implemented? How is it going to be responsible for job creation? And so on. And I think, you know, the president mentioned the three: unemployment, inequality, and poverty, and that we need to deal with that. But I think we were here talking about building rails and roads and dams, which are basic issues. But I think also that what's necessary in a State of the Nation address is the bigger vision of where we are going as a nation.
All right, let's get some commentary now from the opposition leaders, and we've got Freedom Front Plus Peter Mulder chatting to Lukanya Kalata. Lukanya, it's over to you.
Leanne, thank you very much, and good evening to everybody else at home. Sir, good evening, and thank you so very much for joining us. A response from the Freedom Front Plus on the President's State of the Nation address.
Yes. Well, we do welcome the announcements on the infrastructure. It really gives hope. It gives the idea that there's long-term planning for the future because it's long-term projects. But there is a contradiction in the speech. To make it successful, we need certain measures. Some more flexibility, for example, on labor relations. It must not become a tenderpreneur paradise, for example. And that I didn't see. You know, there's measures to make empowerment stronger. That's going to cause the opposite. We need the best guys for the jobs, as we did to the World Cup. And for example, property rights. There's again uncertainty on property rights, so I'm worried about the contradiction. The projects are very positive, but to implement them and to make them success, we really need measures, deadlines, best people on the job, all those things as in the World Cup, and I didn't see that in the speech.
All right. Sir, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Peter Mulder from the Freedom Front Plus. Leanne, we're crossing back to you guys in studio, and hopefully we'll have some more reactions lined up for you in a few minutes.
All right, Lukanya, thank you very much. Certainly we'll be crossing to you. Lots of people making their way out now, and we'll continue discussing here in studio with Professor Amanda Gous. A lot of people, however, complimenting when it comes to the infrastructure development that the president did focus on. What are your views on this?
Well, I think that was the main issue that was singled out as the way forward in how we're going to develop in the next. We should remember that this was a midterm review. So we were looking back at what what achievements there was. And the President really said that we were making progress. He didn't single out specific issues. We were making progress, crime came down, we were building more houses and things like that. But I think the issue that was really focused on is this one aspect of infrastructural development. Now, to come back to, for example, the comment on what business want. But BUSA has also said that they want to see more focus on implementation and also what the partnership between Labour government and civil society will be in terms of implementation. And I think that was very vague in the address.
I mean, interesting for me that, for example, well, before perhaps I'll go to another question, let's perhaps go to Manelisi Tubasa, who brings us more of those opposition party reactions.
Thank you very much, Vuyo. I'm here with the leader of the UDM, General Bantu Olumisa, who has just come out of the assembly. General Olumisa, thank you very much for joining us. What's your take on the speech?
I think President Zuma is shifting the focus, and he is more concentrating on investing on infrastructure in our country. It is long overdue that the outlying areas needed to be developed. I was pleased when he announced some projects in Limpopo, Eastern Cape. We are also happy that his government could also intervene in subsidizing the housing for lower ends. And this, of course, is going to create some problems because the land tenure system in many of the parts of South Africa needs to be reviewed. Hopefully, this subsidy is not only going to benefit the people who are in the suburbs only. Lastly, we are looking forward to see what is contained in the Green Paper on land-related matters. As you know, that the economy of this country will never take off for the majority citizens as long as the issue of the land is not attended to, and in particular, what kind of land tenure system we need to have in South Africa.
Thank you very much, General Bantu Olumisa, the leader of the UDM. And now I go to Lucanyo, my colleague on the other side of the red carpet. Lucanyo.
All right, and right now with me is Mr. Letlapa Mpahlele from the PAC. Sir, very briefly, your reactions to the State of the Nation address.
Well, I think SPAC is another opportunity missed. We thought that with the state president celebrating the centenary of the ANC, he was going to announce the release of all political prisoners. He has missed that opportunity. Again, the president is talking about fighting corruption. I think it is not possible to fight corruption when you have actually institutionalized it through a cadre deployment policy. So SPAC, we are very disappointed that the president is not going to fight corruption successfully. Lastly, I think there are some positive pronouncements from the president. He rightly says willing buyer, willing seller policy has failed, and SPAC, we have said it from the beginning that it won't work.
All right. Sir, thank you very much. We really do appreciate your time. Leanne, that was Mr. Letlapa Mpahlele from the PAC, who says that although he is very disappointed with the president, he is on some other aspects also quite satisfied with his State of the Nation address. Crossing back to you now in studio.
All right, Lakanya, thank you very much for that. Vuyo, I know that you wanted to pose a question to Amanda. I'm not too sure what it was.
I was curious to know from Prof. What, for example, would you have wanted, would you have liked to see? Because I see a person who, if you consider what he said last year, jobs, and he has already gone to Parliament to say why he won't be able to deliver on those jobs. So in many ways he would have been constrained and perhaps a lot more restrained in the sort of promises that he makes. And for me, infrastructure makes a lot of sense, and as you have seen from opposition parties there, that perhaps we should be more inward looking as to what are the sort of things that we can do that are within our means, given that the Euro crisis has put us, the Eurozone crisis has put us where we are now.
Yes, well, I think I would have liked to see a connection with the problems that exist and how we're going to address them. I mean, we have a very serious educational crisis at the moment. It was not really addressed. There were money put forward to building 2 new universities, but we have serious problems in the tertiary education sector with the existing situation around tertiary education. So do we need 2 more universities, or do we need to deal with the existing problems? Speaking towards issues of corruption, how are we actually implementing? We have a task team on corruption, but it's not clear that we're making headway. So I understand that in a State of the Nation address, you have to talk to successors. And I think this is important here for the President to talk to successors. But it seems to me there's a disconnect to what exists on the ground and how we see the solutions.
Prof, we're afraid we have to cut you off right there.